Ancient Egypt wasn't magical, it was lethal, and the truth has been buried for thousands of years. Let's dive into it. You've done it. Somehow, you've fallen through time, slipped through a crack in history, and landed in ancient Egypt, the land of golden deserts, towering pyramids, and gods who decide whether you live or die. And the question isn't whether this world is beautiful. It is. The question is simpler, and far more terrifying. Can you survive? Now, here's what they don't tell you in the movies. Ancient Egypt wasn't just one moment frozen in time. It wasn't a single empire, a single ruler, a single golden age. This civilization stretched across 3,000 years. Think about that. That's longer than the entire span between us and the fall of Rome. Dynasties rose like the sun and crumbled like sand. There were periods of glory, sure. But also collapse. Famine. War. Silence. But you've landed in what historians call the New Kingdom. And honestly, if you had to pick an era, this might be your best shot. This was Egypt at its peak. Armies carving out empires. Monuments that kissed the sky. Pharaohs like Ramses the Great ruling with absolute power and divine authority. We know more about this period than almost any other in the ancient world, thanks to detailed records, tomb inscriptions, temple carvings. Unfortunately, all that knowledge, it won't save you now. If you're standing here, breathing, aware, alive, congratulations. You've already beaten the deadliest challenge of all. Childbirth. There were no hospitals back then. No machines humming in sterile rooms. No trained doctors standing by with instruments and answers. Birth happened at home, on the floor, surrounded by women who'd seen it go wrong more times than they cared to remember. And the numbers? Brutal. Somewhere between 20 and 50% of infants didn't survive their first day. Complications were common. Infections, inevitable. If you were born weak, premature, or sick, there was little anyone could do except pray to Taurid, the hippo-headed goddess of childbirth, and hope she was listening. From the very beginning, survival was a roll of the dice. And the odds were never in your favor. But let's say you made it. You took that first breath. You cried. You lived. You'd think childhood would offer some kind of refuge. Some tenderness, some protection. It didn't. Disease lurked everywhere. Hunger was always there, gnawing at the edges. Parasites lived in the water, the soil, the food you ate. Accidents happened constantly, and they were often fatal. Childhood in ancient Egypt wasn't about play. It wasn't long afternoons by the Nile or games in the sand. Kids worked. The moment you could walk, your role became clear: help the family survive. You hauled water in heavy clay jugs. You worked the fields under a sun that showed no mercy. You watched your younger siblings while your parents labored from dawn to dusk. And you learned whatever trade kept your family afloat: pottery, weaving, farming, fishing. Food? Basic. Coarse bread that slowly ground your teeth down to nubs. Onions. Garlic. Lentils if you were lucky. Maybe some warm milk. Meat was rare, saved for festivals or the tables of the wealthy. And if your family struggled, if the harvest failed or your father got sick or the tax collector came demanding more than you had, well, you struggled too. Malnutrition was everywhere. Stunted growth. Weakened bones. Bodies that just couldn't fight off the next wave of sickness. And trust me, sickness always came. Now let's talk about something that defined every single aspect of life in ancient Egypt. Hierarchy. At the very top sat the pharaoh. And listen, this wasn't just some king. This was a living god. The son of Ra himself. His word wasn't just law, it was divine will. To disobey him wasn't treason. It was blasphemy. Below him, the nobles. The priests who controlled the temples and, by extension, enormous wealth and power. The scribes, because literacy meant everything, and most people couldn't read a single hieroglyph. Then you had the craftsmen. Skilled workers. The artists who painted tombs, the builders who raised those monuments we still marvel at today. Then came the farmers. The backbone of Egypt. The ones who actually fed everyone else. And at the very bottom? Laborers. Servants. Slaves, many of them captured during war, ripped from their homes and forced into lives of endless, grinding toil. Here's the thing. As an outsider, someone who doesn't speak the language fluently, who doesn't know the customs, who looks and sounds different, your position is fragile. Foreigners were viewed with suspicion. Sometimes outright hostility. Say the wrong thing in the wrong place, fail to show proper respect to a noble, get caught somewhere you shouldn't be, and you could vanish. Just like that. Accused. Detained. Enslaved. There's no trial. No lawyer. No appeal. Just a life that's no longer yours. But let's assume you keep your head down. You learn fast. You blend in as best you can. There's work to be done. More than 90% of Egyptians were farmers. And now, so are you. Your entire existence revolves around the Nile River. It's not just important, it's everything. Without the Nile, Egypt is nothing but endless desert. Every year, like clockwork, the river floods. It swells and spills over its banks, blanketing the fields in rich, dark silt. And this flooding? It's life or death. Too little water and the crops fail. Famine follows. Too much and homes get destroyed, livestock drown, entire villages wash away. You're out there working barefoot in those wet fields, planting barley and emmer wheat. The sun beats down without mercy. The work never stops. Your back aches constantly. Your hands blister, crack, bleed. At night, you collapse in a small mud brick house with a dirt floor. You share it with your family. Sometimes your animals too. Snakes slip through cracks in the walls. Scorpions hide in the corners. Insects swarm after dark. This is just life. And here's where it gets worse. You depend completely on the Nile. You drink from it. Bathe in it. Wash your clothes in it. But so does everyone else. Upstream, downstream, it doesn't matter. Human waste flows into it. Dead animals. Rotting debris. The water is never clean. And living in that water are parasites you cannot see. Tiny flatworms that burrow right through your skin while you're wading in the shallows. They enter your bloodstream. Travel to your liver, your intestines, your bladder. The disease is called schistosomiasis. It causes fever. Horrible abdominal pain. Blood in your urine. Chronic exhaustion. Internal bleeding that just doesn't stop. There's no cure. Not here. Not now. You just live with it. Until one day, you can't anymore. Ancient Egypt was a breeding ground for disease. Tuberculosis spread like wildfire through crowded homes. Smallpox scarred and killed without mercy. Malaria, carried by endless swarms of mosquitoes, struck again and again and again. Yes, there were physicians. Some were even highly respected. But their tools were limited: prayers, herbal remedies, rituals passed down through generations. They could set a broken bone, stitch up a wound. But they couldn't see bacteria. Had no concept of germs the way we do. A simple cut could fester and turn gangrenous. A persistent cough could become pneumonia. A fever could take you in 3 days. You learned fast, the difference between life and death often came down to nothing more than dumb luck. When the Nile floods and farming grinds to a halt, you'd think there'd be rest. There isn't. Labor just shifts. You get drafted into construction. The pharaoh is always building. Temples to honor the gods. Massive walls to protect the kingdom. Monuments designed to make him immortal. And you're hauling stone. Heavy, back-breaking stone. Limestone blocks. Granite. Some weighing several tons, moved inch by agonizing inch under a sun that could kill you on its own. There are no machines. No cranes. Just ropes, wooden sledges, ramps, sweat, and sheer human will. Accidents happen all the time. A rope snaps. A stone shifts wrong. A man gets crushed. Medical care? Minimal. If you're badly injured, they carry you to the side and, well, you either recover or you don't. But if you're strong, if you survive, someone notices. Because the pharaoh isn't just building. He's expanding. Wars are being fought along every border. Against the Nubians to the south. The Libyans in the west. The mysterious sea peoples threatening from the Mediterranean. And you get chosen. You're handed a weapon now. A khopesh, that distinctive curved bronze sword. A wooden spear. Maybe a simple bow. A leather shield if you're lucky. There's no real armor. No protection worth mentioning. Training lasts a few weeks if you're fortunate. Then you march. And here's the truth about war in ancient Egypt. It's not clean. It's not strategic chess played from a distance. It's brutal. Close. Visceral. You see the faces of the men trying to kill you. You hear them scream. Arrows rain down like a storm. Chariots thunder past, wheels crushing anything in their path. There's no glory here. Not the kind that feels real when you're standing in the dirt and dust, covered in blood, some yours, some not, hands shaking, legs barely holding you up. There's only survival. And sand. And the desperate hope that today isn't the day your luck runs out. Ancient Egypt was magnificent. Truly. Its art still takes our breath away. Its architecture stands thousands of years later, defying time itself. But it was also merciless. From the moment of birth to the struggles of adulthood, every stage of life was a gamble. Disease. Crushing labor. Violence. Nature herself. Those pyramids everyone marvels at, they weren't built by magic or aliens or some lost technology. They were built by people. Real people who lived hard, worked harder, and died young. Most Egyptians never saw 40. Many didn't make it past 20. You didn't just fall into history. You fell into a world where survival was never, ever guaranteed. Where every single sunrise had to be earned. And the honest truth? Most people never made it out alive. If you want more hidden truths from history, hit subscribe and step deeper into the stories they never taught you.